Welcome everybody to summer webinar number 2. We are in the webinar season, and as you know already this week, we completed one on Monday on for sale by owners, expireds, and hybrid farming techniques, specifically for salespeople. And of course, some of you may have joined us for that. And today we're shifting gears because early on in the webinar series, by the way, we're doing 7 of these. You already know how to register, obviously, since you're here. gloveru.com/webinar has the rest of them. You can check those out. But I wanted to get a leadership one on the agenda early in the summer webinar series because I know that this conversation is much needed and it's a hot topic right now. And the reason why I'm saying it's much needed and it's a hot topic is because we hosted an event. Maybe some of you were there earlier in the month up in or down in Fort Lauderdale called Lead Up. And the focus on that event was all about helping lead agents, brokers, owners, managers take their business, take their teams, take their offices to the next level. And the number one thing that we talked about is recruiting and retaining talent. Now, anybody, in my opinion, can hire a newbie. I mean, you could go stand outside a real estate school and play the numbers game and have enough people that'll take your business card and follow up with you, which, by the way, that is a technique of getting newbies that I used actually while I was a manager for Kathy. But it takes a certain level of skill and technique and tactics and follow up and you know the whole package, your value proposition, to be able to attract talented people into your world and also to get them to stay in your world. And so today I'm joined by Kathy Schweitzer. Speaking of talented people, what's a really cool full circle story, which many of you guys have probably heard by now, is I was actually at 20 years old, one of Kathy's managers years ago when she and her husband Paul operated a 16 office firm in Metro Detroit called Coldwell Banker Schweitzer. In fact, they were one of the most prominent Coldwell Bankers in the Midwest, if not the most. And so she took a chance on me as a young 20-year-old and taught me how to recruit, taught me how to train, taught me how to retain, taught me how to add value to real estate agents, taught me how to get agents into production quickly. And now, that was 2005. So I guess almost 20 years later, 18 years later, she is helping others do the same in business with us. So Kathy is our director of sales for Live Unreal Companies, which means she's very much responsible for recruiting and retention. She's also a Glover U coach. And as many of you know, she leads the Salesperson to CEO 16-week course. So before we jump into today's content, first things first, I love seeing if it is your very first Glover U webinar ever. First timers, where are you at? Drop in the chat, first timer, city and state, where are you joining us today? Where are you coming from? Now, if you're not a first timer, I still want to see your city and states. So you don't have to say first timer and then your city and state. Just drop your city and state in there. And when you're doing so, make sure you change your chat function to all, because a lot of you comment publicly, but you only send it to hosts and panelists. So when you do your chat, which you're doing, great to see everyone. All right, I'm actually live in Grand Rapids right now. We just finished up a half-day session. Kathy is live in Birmingham, in our Birmingham location. And so when you're chatting in the chat there, it says to hosts and panelists, change that to everyone. So everyone can see where you're chiming in from. Because if you spend enough time around us, people are going to get to know you. They're going to see your names and they want to affiliate your name with a city and state. That's going to be good for referrals. It looks like Alabama in the house, Orlando. I'm on a flight tonight to Orlando, actually, to do
I saw Honolulu.
Jack. Yeah, Honolulu, Hawaii in the house. I love that. I love that. All right, cool. So good to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I will keep the intro short and sweet since most of you know who we are. Glover U, if you're not familiar, is a broker agnostic training and coaching company for agents and leaders across North America. In fact, we would like to think or argue that we're the fastest growing right now. And that's because we're boots on the ground. We're in it with you. Kathy isn't reciting things that she used to do 10, 15 years ago. I'm not reciting things I used to do 10, 15 years ago. We're reciting what we're doing that's working right now. Why? Because we're in it. We're dealing with what you're dealing with. For my leaders, we know what it's like to recruit agents today. We know what it's like to retain them, especially your producers. So when you learn from us, please know that you're learning from people that are in it with you. That's how we, that's probably one of the bigger differentiators. Because I know today you've got a lot of choices. I had somebody come up to me a few weeks ago in Salt Lake City and they said, Jeff, at one of these half-day sessions, Jeff, how do you get like all this content for your stuff? Like, this is really good content. And my response was, it's easy. I just share what we do. I don't have to go research any kind of content. I just share with you what we do. And he followed it up with, it always seems like your content is 1 or 2 years ahead of everyone else's. And of course, same thing. That's because most trainers and coaches today are regurgitating things that they've heard over time. We don't do that. We share with you what works and what doesn't. And I hope that you guys can appreciate that. Okay. Before we get to today's content, there's 2 resources that I want to share with you, 2 resources that you should be taking advantage of as leaders and brokers in the industry. Now, first things first, you should have a workbook. So make sure you get your workbook printed off because these resources are in your workbook. So there's a couple good resources in here. I want to make sure you get your hands on. You can download the workbook right there. It's on the right-hand side on the screen there. You can download that very easily. Just click on that and send that to your printer. You can print it while we get started here. On the document, you'll see all of the resources here. These are great for leaders and even better for your agents. Get these resources in front of your agents. Let us do the heavy lifting for you. There's a lot of good stuff in here for them to take advantage of. But the 2 most popular resources, I'm told, or the resources that people appreciate the most, the first one is the daily text message. Now, if you're already receiving the daily message that I send out Monday through Friday, throw something in the chat. Let us know if you're receiving those daily text messages. If you're receiving them and if they're of value, please let me know that. I have a lot of people that come up to me at events and they say, Jeff, I take your daily messages and I turn them into sales meeting topics. Or Jeff, I take your daily messages and I turn them into, a 60-minute training session. So do what you want with those. It's absolutely free. For those that aren't familiar, I'm going to give you the instructions on how to get them. So go ahead and open up your cell phone text message. If you were going to meet a new friend and send a text message, a new friend, or if you're going to send a text message to a new friend, the phone number is 55444. And by the way, for those of you that already receive it, you should be sharing this with your agents because I'll kick their butts for you. I'll do the heavy lifting. The phone number is 55444. And in the body of the message, you're just going to type morning. That's it. Send the word morning to 55444. There it is, right in the chat. Super simple. You're signed up, sign up whoever you want. Use that. That's a free resource. Take advantage of that. The second most popular resource, and I'm going to need a copy of one if we got one around here, is called the Unreal Life Magazine. And we produce 65,000 copies of these. Kathy's looking for one right now. And my tour assistant is going to grab one. So Kathy, we're good. Don't worry. She's bringing one in here. Our Unreal Life Magazine. Yes. Thank you, Sharon. So here's how you get your hands on it. By the way, this is what this edition looks like. It's 80, 90 pages of real estate sales content. Sales, marketing scripts, dialogues, business plans, you name it. It's in here. I'm going to give you a free subscription. Here's how you get your hands on it. There it is. Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Here's how you get a free subscription. Open up your Facebook app in your phone. Open up the Facebook app in your phone. I'll do it with you now. Show you how to do it. On the right-hand side, there's a little magnifying glass. And on that magnifying glass, you're going to click on that. And then you're going to search Glover U Inner Circle. That's going to bring up a Facebook group. From there, it's going to ask you if you'd like to subscribe to our quarterly publication. That's what this is. So don't put your email address in there because this is a physical mailing. We're going to drop this in the mail to you. All right. Our keynotes from events they get transcribed, they get put in here. Lots of good stuff. Glover U Inner Circle. That's how you get this. Now, if you're already in the inner circle, because we always have someone drop in the chat, hey, I'm already in the inner circle. How do I get the magazine? There's an easy workaround. You just go to gloveru.com/mag. gloveru.com/MAG. That's the workaround if you're already in the Facebook group. All right. So I wanted to share with you those free resources. Take advantage of them, share them with your agents, and they'll help them list and sell more real estate. So let's get into today's topic. Everyone should have their workbook printed off. It's been dropped in the chat a few times. If you don't, go get it. How to recruit talent to your sales, operation, and leadership bench. And we've got the absolute pro when it comes to this topic joining us today, because first of all, she recruited me into her world. And now I guess I could say I've returned that skill because I've recruited her back. It's amazing how that's full circle. So Kathy, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so just a little bit, you mentioned I was actually in the field recruiting right?
Yeah.
I've only been back here 2 years.
Yeah.
So I was in the Boston area for 9 years prior to that, actually in the field recruiting. I had like a reverse of my history. So in the beginning, I was recruiting leaders and managers like you guys, right? Is the COO at Schweitzer Real Estate, my husband's company, right? So I was recruiting the leaders at that time, which was super fun. And then when we sold our business, I've been coaching, as you know, for 15 years with the Mike Ferry organization, which is great. Now I've changed and I'm here with Jeff doing that. And then I went and worked in Boston for 9 years, where I actually was in the field recruiting experienced, or we call them productive agents. And I did that for 8 to 9 years. So it feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was really only about 2.5.
That's
so
right.
just record. So it's not that long ago. So
and Kathy, 34 years of experience. Is that right?
yeah, right. God, it slips me. I forget to mention that sometimes. Yeah.
That's
It's
all right.
actually-
34 years. So you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of different markets, and this market's nothing. I mean, who cares? This market's no different than any other weird markets we've seen in the past, right?
Yeah. So that's a true statement, right? And in regards to the market, it is shifted. We know that, which creates opportunity. The biggest opportunity to recruit good talent is in a shifting market.
That's right.
And it doesn't mean we don't do it all the time, but when the market shifts, it's really a good time to actually be connecting more with great talent. And actually, when I was in Boston, my first, I think it was, I can't remember years, but somewhere like that 2011, 12 mark, where the market was still not so good, but just starting. And we ended up doing fantastic with productive agents at that time. So now is a great time.
Good. So let's jump in.
Yep. Okay. So a couple things I wanted to start off with, and this is something I like the way that Jeff says it. So before we get into all the content, I want you to write down a few things. There's about 6 or 7 of them. I'm going to rattle them off pretty quick. One thing that Jeff says that I admire and totally get is recruit solves all. Recruiting solves all. So I want you to write these thoughts down, everybody, please. One thought, why? Why does recruit solve all? 1, because attrition happens. We know that people are going to leave. Talent is going to leave, whether it's a leader or an agent, they're going to leave. So attrition happens. So that's number 1. You got to get that it does. So that's why recruit solves all.
Kathy, one of my first leadership coaches, you remember Coach Kevin, he said,
Sure.
you know, I would take it personally, you know, when I would pour into agents and they would leave. And, you know, by the way, I get people say, hey, it's just business, but it's not. I mean, you care about them and you think you have a great relationship with them, a transparent, honest relationship, and they leave you. He said, Jeff, agents come, agents go. It's the business you signed up for. It will never change. And if you don't like it, find a new industry. Okay, there we go, right? It doesn't matter how much rapport, how much you pour into them. It's just a natural thing in this industry that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely. Number 2, let's write down. So it is part of the business. We have to accept it. I'm like you. I don't like it, but it's just part, we have to accept it. That's what we signed up for. Number 2, let's write down. Why does recruit solve all? Is because productive agents, when you recruit productive talent agents, their income falls to the bottom line quicker. I mean, it's something that we have to talk about. So that's why we recruit, and we are consistent, because when you get productive agents, they're the money, not only are they talented and they're great, and we're looking for their, you know, what they can do to help themselves and their families, but also the bottom line, business wise, it falls to the bottom line. So that's number 2. Number 3, with the change in the market, we alluded to this, we're always going to have ups and downs. So when you're constantly recruiting, it solves all, is that when you're consistently doing it, when the market shifts, this is a no-brainer, you're consistently bringing productive agents in, then that's why recruit solves all. So that's point number 3. Market shifts, you consistently bring people in, it's good for you, and obviously you don't feel the hit of the market so much.
What I heard in that, Kathy, is focusing on productive agents is market proof. Meaning it doesn't matter what's happening in the market. If you focus on bringing in productive agents, it's market proof. And I'll tell you, you know, we're a testimony of that. And I know you're working one-on-one with Taylor, who's running Glover Agency. And this is the first year we've ever made the decision to only focus on agents who are already producing.
Right.
For years and years, we've been the team to go to for newbies. Like, we've been known as training newbies. We like newbies. We go after newbies, whatever. This is the first year we made the decision that we're not going to focus on newbies and instead we're going to focus on producing. Now, here's the deal. We still have newbies showing up at our door. You still have lead funnels and other things that are generating new licensees. But since we made that shift in our focus, now all of a sudden, guess who most of the agents that are joining us are?
Yep.
Producing agents. Now, and that's not to take anything away from Taylor's skill or the coaching that Kathy's doing and working with her. It's just when we made the decision that we're going to focus on bringing in producing agents only, naturally you're going to have producing agents fall in your lap, quote unquote, because of the efforts you put in, because of your focus on that. All right, I'll shut up.
No doubt. No, again, in the Boston area, I specialized in experienced agents, productive agents. That was 90% of what we did. And it's very fun. And they start leveraging, they start coming. So that's a huge topic.
Well, income shows up in your bottom line in 90 days. You bring a newbie on today, on average, even if you have the best training, the best mentoring, the best whatever, the average check is going to show up in 6 months. And you spent a ton of time and energy getting it to that point.
That's absolutely true. And everybody's listening. I'm sure you get that. Recruiting solves all, right? We're going to get into more meat about how to do it, but you got to also write down, and this is something that I heard Jeff say that I totally know is a fact. And this is number 4 under why recruiting solves all. The quality is in the quantity. Okay, you gotta go out with a wide net to find the quality, talented leaders. And what we mean by that are talented, productive agents, or even new agents, that you see can become a very strong agent. But it's the quality is in the quantity. You have to talk to a lot of people in order to find the good quality ones, period.
Yes.
And I know that to be true. Okay, so that's point number 4. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. And forgive me if I'm stealing your number 5.
Okay, fire away, man.
If not, I'll take credit for number 5. And that is ... And if we don't flush out the poor quantity fast enough, so add this to this point number 7. And if we don't flush out the poor quantity fast enough, the quantity will drive out quality.
Totally.
So you find the quality in the quantity. In other words, as Kathy said, you cast a wide net to say, all right, yeah, you check 6 out of 10 boxes, we'll give you a shot. Yeah, you check 7 out of 10 boxes, come on in. The mistake most teams make, if they do take that approach, which first of all teams should take that approach, the quality will show up in the quantity. The mistake, however, most teams make is they hang on to the quantity for too long. And they give them too many chances and too many tries. And what happens is your poor quality, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being someone who's amazing for your environment, 1 being someone who's terrible. If you hang on to the 4s and 5s, too many of them for too long, you're actually going to push out your 7s and 8s. So you got to be very careful if you're going to take the approach of recruiting solves all and the quality will show up in the quantity, which obviously we believe in. That's the method we're using. Here's where you can get caught. And that is if you hang on to the bad quantity for too long, it'll push out the quality agents.
No doubt. And actually that wasn't my next point, but it's going to be on the next one. So thank God you're here. So here's the thing, guys. The other thing to go along with that, we all know that the perception is from agents of real estate leaders is that they spend too much time with the quantity and not enough time with the quality. Right? So just remember that as we do that. I love that. Okay, next point. I think it's number 5. Agents are learning in today's world that they can't do it on their own. They are looking for answers. And another thing that you said that I love is they're looking for structure. They're looking for answers. They can't do it on their own. And so for teams, that gives teams a huge opportunity, right? Yep. And the team leaders, that's why recruiting is so important for you. They can't do it on their own. They're out looking for help. Same with brokers. Okay. So that's point number 5.
Yes. Agents value structure today more than they ever have. So if that's part of your value proposition, create a marketing campaign around it. Add that to your value prop, add that to your social media, add that to, shout that from the rooftops. In an unstable, uncertain environment that we in, people value structure and security more. That doesn't mean it's the only thing they're after, right? Because when things are hot and things are flying, people want to be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And that's when you have a lot of brokers say, oh, come join here. You don't have to be on accountability calls. You can come and go as you please. You get a key card. You can buzz in whenever you want, do whatever you want. Well, that's attractive to two types of agents, part-time agents and agents that have business falling in their lap because the market is so hot.
Yep.
But when the market gets a little unstable, like we're in right now, all of a sudden they value security and structure at a higher level. So how often are you promoting? You all have, you follow our system and you've been to our events, or you come to Lead Up, or you're in our coaching, or you've taken Salesperson CEO. You all have a certain level of structure, whether it's because of us or not. How much are you using that as a marketing tool to go grab market share, AKA more agents to join you who want that?
Absolutely. And the other things is they value the structure and your strong leadership in turbulent times. That's what they're looking for. And right now, as I said earlier, there is never a better opportunity than right now, ever. Shifting, changing, fear. You know, I don't want to play on that too much, but it's just a true statement. They're looking for strong leaders, and we know that, and that's what our job is to help people become strong leaders.
Kathy, and I know where you're coming from. You say you don't want to play on that too much because it's the term, there's never been a better time, is like overused.
Yeah, right.
But honestly, we mean it. Like we mean it right now because of what's happening right now.
Well, the other thing is, again, because I've experienced it personally with recruiting. I did it in a changing market, and I know what they're looking for. They're looking for strength. They're looking for someone that gives them structure, that actually cares about them, that are responsible, etc. The other thing, the last thing I want to say, which I don't know, next point, whatever, I think it's point 6 or 7,
I think we're on 6.
Number 6 is the fact that, and again, we've said this and you say it all the time, the agents are looking for what you can take off their plate.
Yes.
So recruit, solve.
Wait, I thought it was a better split. I thought it was a better split, Kathy.
Right.
That's what we think they're looking for. We think they're looking for a better split or to even increase their bottom line. And don't get me wrong, they want to increase their bottom line, but Kathy, that's spot on. And they're not maybe presenting that or articulating it enough. When I say they, I'm talking about the recruits. They aren't coming to the table with what they think they want, but it's ending up showing up in your conversations with them, isn't it?
There's no doubt about it. And the reality is, with the people I'm leading right now and coaching, the leaders, right, the team leaders that we're working with, is the reality is that the first thought that people think is that they're looking for a commission.
Yep.
That's the first thing everybody says. And that's not true. People leave other places because of the pain of where they are, or the pleasure of you helping them. Now, once in a while, you're going to get the commission chasers. I get that. But for the most part, they're looking for someone that, you know what I always say, MMFI, we're going to bring that up, right? They're looking for strength, leadership, and guidance. Okay, so those were just some thoughts, 6 thoughts about recruit solves all. We could spend an entire time on that, but let's talk a little bit about, some of the things that we've talked about in the past about recruiting in, the steps or the things that we do. How do we do it? Right? How do we get talent? And just so you know, when you're looking at how do we get talent on our bench, how do we bring them in, you have to understand that this goes with recruiting productive agents, new agents, or leaders, because a lot of us are looking for strong leaders, and we're constantly looking for them. So one thing I just wanted to say, so before we get into that, recruiting is the fastest way to increase your company's production and is usually the most important step unless you do not have your systems or models in place. And that's a quote from you. I like that because of the fact that it's something that's so important. It's the most important step, but you have to make sure that your systems and your structure and your models are in place. Otherwise, we get in trouble because we bring people on and we're a house of cards. Fire away.
Correct. Nope. It's this hamster wheel. You bring them in, you try to get them productive. It's like trying to build the plane while you're trying to take off at the same time. You can't take off. The plane can't leave the runway until the wheels and everything and the wings and everything is intact. And the mistake a lot of lead agents make, or broker owners or leaders of team make, is they're trying to build this strong value proposition while recruiting people to it. And Kathy, you coach them. They're trying to build this value proposition and also coach people, also coach people and train people and recruit people and retain people all at the same time when they don't even have their value proposition down.
Right. Well,
you can't recruit to a value proposition if it's not documented, if it's not presented, if it's not, put in writing, if it's not something that you could share with somebody, if it's not something that you could promote on social media, you got to start with that first. Otherwise, what's the point in recruiting? It's like prospecting for sale by owners and expireds and never following up. Not going to happen. You're not going to get responses. You got to have that piece in place first. Don't try to do both simultaneously.
Nope, it's so true. You got to have your structures and systems in place, and the value prop, which we're going to talk about. So let's talk about how, right? So how do I get going and get better at recruiting these talented people? So let's write down number one in your workbooks. Let's make sure we write down number one. Determine the number of agents, okay, that you need in your company. Okay, so we're going to say new and productive agents. We've got to look at what our production goals are, whether you're a brokerage or a team, and decide that how many agents do we have to recruit. The other thing is we're talking about leaders, right? So some of you, I know because I'm talking to you right now and I'm coaching you, is you're trying to find leaders, right? An operations leader, a sales manager, which Jeff, we talk about all the time. So you have to, a lot of the things that we're talking about today go all hand in hand with recruiting leaders. But the first thing you have to do is determine how much and how many you are going to recruit. And what Jeff said, which I love, recommends a healthy growth balance of 50% new and 50% producing. Okay, you have to look at how many do I need for my goal for the company. Okay, this is the business side of it. We're running a business. So in order to reach my profit goal, to reinvest into my company or team and the agents that work there, I have to sit down and do the math. How many do I need? Now, the productive agent, again, that's most of my experience. There's nothing wrong with new, right? But again, their income falls to the bottom line. So you have to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper or your computer, the analyticals and your sheets, and say, what do I need to get the return on, the business that I'm operating? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing in that is, obviously you figure out once you have your compensation model figured out and, what your costs are going to be, then from there you can figure out approximately, you should first look at, okay, how many agents do we need just to break even? All right. Yeah. So what's our break even number? Now, some of you are already making the money you want to make. And Jeff, I'm beyond that. What are you talking about? I'm not losing money. Everyone, no matter how much money you're making, should always know what your agent count needs to be to hit a break even point.
Yep.
Because if stuff does hit the fan, you need to know the minimum number that you cannot drop below in order to be able to pay your bills and pay your staff. And so you got to figure out what your break-even point is. Maybe it's 6 agents, maybe it's 3 agents, maybe it's 18 agents. I'm not sure. You got to figure that out based on your comp model, what you're paying out and what your expenses are. Then from there, then you can figure out, okay, now realistically, how many agents can we bring on per month? How many can we bring on per quarter? What's that percentage of producing agents versus newbies?
Okay, good. So I agree with that. Obviously, the thing that I also will add to that is what you figure out your break even, but then figure out what your goal is for profit. Because break even is fine, but if we make a profit, then we can have more money to reinvest in the people that we're leading. That's right. And actually work on getting a better talent bench of leaders.
Yes.
Okay, so just as a little follow-up. So number one, we have to determine the number of the productive agents that we're looking for, obviously new agents. Again, all you guys are gonna be a little bit different of percent new versus productive, but Jeff recommends 50-50 at least. Okay, so number two, how do we do this?
And the reason why we recommend 50-50 is because then you always have a healthy balance of your newbies to hang out with and talk to and hold accountable and role play with. And you have a healthy balance of your experienced agents to hang out with and bounce ideas off of and mastermind. If your business is 90% newbies and 10% experienced, or 10% producing, you've got a flight risk on your hand. And it's not the 90%, it's the 10%, the ones that you really want, the ones that are already producing. If your business is the flip side of that, 90% producing and experience and 10% new, you've got a flight risk on your hands with the 10% that are new because they're feeling like they can't keep up, or maybe your models and systems are more for the producers. So a healthy business is 50% of your agents that you recruit are already producing, 50% of them are already new and try to maintain, or are new and try to maintain that throughout.
Right. Well, the number one point when it comes to be a great agent attraction and recruiting is retention.
Yeah.
So don't forget that, because retention is the number one form of being a great recruiter, just for the record. All right. So number two, how? We've been doing this a long time, Jeff, and this, what we talk about here is creating the ideal agent list or leader list.
Yep.
And what we mean by that, and this is critical, and a lot of people just brush it off or don't pay any attention of it. Do you want to identify the characteristics of the people that you want to hire? So do they match your core values, right? So you have to sit down and actually, and you and I do this in the team building, and we sit down and say, so what, we teach them how to do core values, and we'll talk about that with a value prop in a minute, but you have to write down what the characteristics are of the people you're looking for. And do they match your core values? Because one way to be awesome at this is bring people on that match your core values. One way to run people out your door is bring on people that don't match your core values.
Yeah.
So you've got to describe the characteristics of the people that you want to bring in, and they should match your core values.
And it's best if you involve your existing agents and staff in this conversation.
Yes.
Because you might have your set of core values and they may have their set. And if you've got a very talented staff and you're surrounding them with people that don't match their core values, your staff will find another company that does, and vice versa. So the best piece of advice we can give you for that is always involve your tried and true, your most loyal, your leadership, your staff, always involve them in coming up with, all right, what are the boxes that we'd like to see checked? What are the core values that we'd like to see in people?
Exactly. And the other thing when we're talking about this is creating that, the characteristics or the values that the people you're looking for, that does go hand in hand with your core values 100%. But you have to ask yourself the question as a leader, would you be proud to have these people work for you?
Great question.
So everyone should write that down. Would they be proud? So number two is create an ideal agent list, right? What are the characteristics, the qualities? And then you have to say, do they match the core values? If you don't have core values, you need to write them down. That's something we also, teach in one of the classes. Okay, good. So number three, put together, and you can describe this a little bit for us, Jeff, put together a top of funnel list. This will be a group of agents who may or may not check the perfect agent list, but this goes into the quality is in the quantity. So fire away with that thought.
Yeah. So top of funnel would be, all of the, I'm assuming you're referring to the recruiting resources or the sources of recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So top of funnel is just getting people into your system, whether it's a recruiting ad, you put a video out that you're running on Facebook and people are inquiring on it. Maybe you're going to host a 90-minute webinar, or you're going to do a 3-hour session in your backyard. This is just, it's kind of like what we tell the salespeople. Think about each day how you can add people to your database. What can you do to add a potential buyer or seller to your database? Hold open houses, follow up on leads. What are the activities you can do to add people to your database? It's no different than recruiting. The top of funnel recruiting is, what can you do to add potential recruits to your funnel? So that way they're subscribing to your value proposition document, by the way, is one instance, or they're subscribing to your business plan, because you can create your company business plan or an agent business plan. It's a one-page business plan. You can run an ad on Facebook about how to get their hands on your business plan. And you're getting all of these people into your funnel that you later are going to add value to. Say, for instance, once per month, you're going to share how to help them succeed. But you're going to put them on your email drip campaigns. These are kind of cold leads that you're getting into your world, that they're seeing your stuff regularly. Once they're in your funnel, you're marketing to them, or you're training them, or adding value to them.
Right on, because the quality is in the quantity. You got to put out the big web to find the quality. Okay, number 4, this one I want everyone to highlight. How do we do this? How do we recruit talent? You've got to write out a target list. What you want to do is define who is it you want to hire for your team or your brokerage. Identify individual agents, leaders within your area. Everybody listen to me. Open your eyes. They are everywhere around you. So you have to start writing down a target list of 10, 20, 30, 40 people that you want, that you are going to attract. Now, one of the things everyone needs to hear, and make sure you get this, mortgage lenders are a great source for you to give you names of the people all around you to go on that target list.
Yes.
The other great source are your own agents.
Yep.
So you have to write down that target list. You're going to have people that you know, your agents are going to have people that you know. You need to use your leadership council, you need to use your core group of agents to get names, but also the mortgage people will feed you the information.
Mortgage, title, home inspectors,
Right.
anyone that's vendors in real estate, they know about people not happy with their brokerages before anyone else. Because they don't tell other agents in their office because they're fearful that they're going to get fired or kicked out. But who will they moan and complain to? Their lender. Who will they moan and complain to? Their title company. Absolutely. So back to your point on the hit list. You know, when I was a manager for you, I kept a hit list of 25 names, phone numbers, email addresses, and companies. And and by the way, Taylor, our director of sales at Glover Agency now, does the same thing. She has a hit list of 25 people. And my hit list, I think she keeps her, hers in her purse or whatever, but mine was an index card. All right, let's just pretend, I got my hotel room key here. Let's just pretend this was an index card. And when I would get home every day from the office, I managed an office in a town called Livonia, Michigan. I would take my cell phone out of my right pocket. I'd take my hit list out of my left. I'd take my keys out of my right pocket. I'd set them right there. And I would take my wallet out of my left pocket and set it right there. So every night before I went to bed and every morning before I went to the office, grab my cell phone, grab my hit list, grab my keys, grab my wallet. It was up there and that level of importance. It was with everything. Now, by the way, on one hand, I had the 25 people that I was trying to recruit. And on the backside, guess what it was? It was my business plan.
Right.
But guess what? That guaranteed I looked at it twice per day. By the way, Taylor, who's recruited 14 producing agents in the last 90 days of the Glover Agency, does the exact same thing.
Right. So I did the same thing. It just wasn't, it was a bigger card, right? Like I'm a 3-ring binder person. So I carried that 25 on 2 pages. I take notes, but I carried it wherever I went. So you got to create the target list. The other thing is think about the sweet spot with productive agents. It's not all top producers. There's a sweet spot of like 6 to 18 transactions.
Yes.
You want to write that target list of the sweet spot of who you need to go after.
They are without question. I hate to use this term, but it's just the industry we're in and it's the market we're seeing today. They're the most vulnerable, Kathy. Now, having said that, they're also the most vulnerable on your bench. Your 6 to 12 deal a year agents are also the ones that are the flight risks, just like they're flight risks from other companies. So when we look at our recruiting strategy at Glover Agency today, this year, we're going after minimum of 6 deals closed in the last 12 months, maximum of 8. Because if we're going to put the time and energy into calling, texting, emailing, getting them to events, whatever, then guess what? Then I want to make sure we're going to have a high conversion percentage. If we're going to spend the time doing all this, and that group, and by the way, our average sales price is $280,000. So for some of you, 18 units, you're like, yeah, they probably own a brokerage if they're doing 18 units a year. All right. So take that into consideration. Maybe it's 4 to 6, maybe it's 5 to 10, whatever. For us, it's 6 to 18. That group is the most vulnerable and most likely to leave if you can show them a plan to get to 30 transactions or more. If you can show them a plan on how they don't just have to be a salesperson, they could potentially be a leader within your organization long-term.
Okay, perfect. So that makes sense. So the target list, as we said, is super important. Everybody needs to highlight that. That was number 4, number 4, create your target list. Guys, this sounds a little crazy, but you become what you think about. And if you look at it and you call and you take action, then it becomes reality.
They're going to be yours. They're going to be
yours. Number 5. And how do I recruit talent? And Jeff brought this up. You must define clearly your mission, your vision, and your value proposition and core values. This, I think, besides starring number 4, star number 5, I think I've seen more people not be able to recruit talent because they don't have it clearly defined. The question you have to ask yourself, besides the other ones we've been bringing up, is why would they work for you? Why are they going to get up, disrupt their lives and their current environment and go work for you? So very clearly, there needs to be the mission. And some of us have had missions before that need to be revamped or updated.
Yes.
So the mission, the vision, the value prop and core values. And I can't help myself, but it's something that is absolutely critical.
Yes.
And it is something, that
Well,
we spend a lot of time working on.
here's what it does. It checks that last box right there. Recruiting talent to your leadership bench.
Yeah.
Most team leads today, most brokers today are recruiting agents because what the agents can get by being in affiliation with you. What the agents can get, they can get an income, they can get leads, they can get stability, they can get security, they can get structure. Leadership, leaders, emerging leaders in the industry aren't necessarily interested in being in business with you based on what they can get. Here's what they're interested in. They're interested in who they will become and what their life will look like because of their affiliation with you. You see the difference?
Yep.
Salespeople are after what they can get. How much more money, how many more leads, how much more marketing, how much will you take off your plate? These are all the things I can get. Leaders, if you want to attract more leaders in your life, or you're wondering why you're not attracting more leaders in your life, it's because your mission, vision, values aren't clear as to how you're going to help them become a better version of themselves and live the life they want to live. See
Yeah, so I think it's completely twofold, right? So it is who they will become, for sure.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, also the real world is what do I get, right?
Yes.
And so it's both, but it is with the productive in the leadership bench, it's who's I'm going to become because I work with you.
Yeah.
But don't forget, the value prop is who I'm going to become, but there's also so many stuff and we do it fantastic here with our value proposition, but you need to have a value prop. I just happen to have ours in place, which is beautiful, right? I can't help myself. It doesn't have to be this spectacular, but what is your value? So I want you to leave today, before we wrap this up, with writing down 3 or 4 things on why people would come work for you.
Yes. And be comfortable writing things that are kind of elementary. Like, for instance, I use this example all the time. Kathy, you'll get a kick out of this one. Do you show up to your office every day? And when you're working, do you leave your door open? Come on, Jeff, I'm running a team, of course. Great. So you have an open doors 5-day a week policy. Oh, I guess I never thought of it. Yes, that's a value prop. If you show up to work 5 days a week, and at some point during the day while you're working, your door is open, you have an open door policy 5 days per week. That's one item you can add to your value proposition. I think what happens, Kathy, is people get caught up in this idea that their value proposition has to be unique or different than everyone else's.
Right.
And what you're doing is you're giving other leaders and other brokers too much credit, because they're not documenting what they're doing. They're just talking off the top of their head and whatever feels good or sounds good at the time when they got the recruit across from them.
Right. Yep. So it's, here's the thing. The first thing you have to do, and we just did this with a couple of people, just write down 5 or 6, 7 things that you do that bring value to your business. Super important, but think obviously sales-based training and coaching and any technology. Big technology is only as good as the people using it. So there's so much meat there that, again, we do talk about in our salesperson to CEO class, which is awesome. But let's move on to the next point.
Please.
Number 6, master the recruiting presentation. Another thing, now I've given you 3 things to star. I guess I like them all. Here's the thing. Most people don't take the time, leaders, to master their presentation.
Mm-hmm.
What are you saying? Now, watch, it's in the value prop and why they're coming, but when you present, it's not just the words, it's how you present with energy, enthusiasm, passion, caring.
Yeah. So
you have to master your recruiting presentation and work on that. So that's point number 6. Point number 7.
That's a matter of, I mean, just like you're teaching your agents, or just like you were taught early on. You got to know your scripts. How do you know the scripts? You write them, you chant them, you role play them. When I was a salesperson, just a salesperson, I practiced and role played every single day. When I became a manager, guess what? Kathy said, Jeff, you're going around to all the other managers and you're going to practice and role play with them. What did we practice in role play? There were 3 scripts that we practiced in role play: the appointment setting script, the appointment script, and the objection handlers. No different than being a top salesperson. If you want to be a top leader, you have to get good at those 3 scripts: the appointment setting, the appointment, and the objection handling.
And oh, by the way, all of those you can get at our website, right? So the
Yeah, you can go
scripts
to
are there.
W.com. They're under free resources, and we cover a lot of this in our team building course.
Yeah, and we'll continue to talk about that. Same with the value proposition. You walk away out of that class with the full value proposition organized and put in place, and you get a sample of Jeff's, okay? So number 7, the how to. Schedule your recruiting time. What a novel idea, but it is the biggest challenge, okay? And because of the sake of time, right? Morning prospect, later in the day, like 4:30 to 5:30, lead follow-up. You catch agents, at least I did later in the day, with that lead follow-up. So I'm just telling you to schedule it. You recommend, Jeff, between 9 and 11, 9:30, 11:30 in the morning, okay?
Yeah.
So it's something, again, that we could spend a whole seminar, we could spend 6 weeks just on this point. But
Yeah,
number 7,
most agents are just getting up and getting going at 8:39, 9:30. So you're going to catch them before they're in closings, because they're usually not scheduling 9 or 10 o'clock closings, because that'd be too early. So you're going to catch a lot of agents between 9 and 11.
Okay, yep. So you got to schedule the time. That's the toughest. I'm telling you, I deal with it every single day of my life with coaching and leading team leaders. You got to schedule it and do it. And then surround yourself with accountability. Okay. Number 8, how do I bring in talent? Okay. The onboarding system. And we have about 1 minute to wrap up the content. Is that right?
Yes, I've got a couple other things I want to share, but
Okay, yes.
take 90 seconds on this last one.
Yeah, the onboarding system, guys, and everyone out there, this is the single, okay, I keep saying everything's the single most important. Okay, sorry, but I've seen the onboarding. Remember when you do onboarding, MMFI, you've got to roll out the red carpet. When people walk in the door, you have to have a system. You've got to have a system. Onboarding best practices. Welcome the person. Have someone at the company or team that's their job is to call and welcome them and roll out the red carpet. So you've got to make them feel so important that they walk in and everyone cares that they're there. And you have to have a system in place where when they walk in, there's no holes. They're walking in, they have a welcome committee, they have a person that guides them, an admin, an EA, or someone that guides them all the way through the training, all through who they need to meet and how, and you've got to have people keeping in touch with them for the first 90 days. Super important.
Yeah, because people get nervous and, they question, they're kind of second guessing themselves. Did I make the right decision? I don't know. I kind of miss my friends. I don't know how I feel about this. You gotta get that out of their mind by wowing them from the day they walk in the door. And when Kathy said MMFI, make me feel important, make them feel important every day, their first 10 days, every day, their first 30 days. That needs to be part of your onboarding process. Most of you have onboarding processes. Some of you are going to get our onboarding process through the team building course. Regardless of what your onboarding process, making them feel important their first 30, 60, 90 days is absolutely the pinnacle of that.
It is. They can't listen. I've seen too many people leave, and someone just chimed in. That's the reason why they left another company. I have heard, because I've coached leaders and brokers for so long, I'll say, what happened? Well, they left. And that's because the person, this might sound interesting, they were lonely. They left their past group, which is always difficult, and then they come in and no one's paying attention. I want you to walk away today, everybody on here, and I want you to make sure that you have an onboarding process. It's not just a checklist, it's an experience. Okay, if you ever stayed at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, you make them feel great. And you can't just do it for the first week. You have to do it for 90 days so they get ingrained. Okay.
And for my people that joined us today, because of the building your leadership or operational bench, what you need to hear in that is you actually have to have 3 different onboarding processes. Now, again, the step-by-step, the day one, all of that can look the same, but you need to have onboarding for agents, onboarding for staff, and onboarding for leaders. So when we have a leader show up in our world, we have what they're doing on day 1, on day 2, on day 3, and it's treated very similarly. Now, they might be doing different activities, but the leaders that you want to attract in your world need to be treated just like the salespeople, just with different content. but you have to have an onboarding for all three of those, not just your salespeople.
Yep. Makes
So
sense.
a lot of what we talked about today, Kathy, we cover at a deeper level in your team building course. And I know some people join us on this webinar to find out more about that. We've got a lot of inquiries about that behind the scenes. And so anyone who's inquired, we've sent them here as well. So we'll kind of answer some quick questions about that. The team building salesperson to CEO is without a doubt the exact same training in a modern way. Because now Kathy has not only she taught me how to run a brokerage, but now she's leading our brokerages and leading our leaders of our brokerages. So when I say modern way, Kathy has been like, reinvented, if you will, because she's using her wisdom and her skills of what she taught me, but also now learning the way we do it, the Glover way, the Glover agency way. And all of you, just like I had an opportunity to spend weeks and months with her, actually several years, you have an opportunity to spend 16 weeks with Kathy one-on-one for an hour a week. And by the way, Kathy's coaching one-on-one, she's getting paid $1,500 a month. I mean, there's people that, she's got a waiting list of people wanting to pay her to coach them. This is the most economical way to spend an hour a week with Kathy to learn everything from building your company business plan, your mission, your vision, your values, your recruiting strategies, your retention strategies, your training programs, your development programs. And it's 16 weeks. And guys, can you scroll up again? I'm sorry. It's only $3.99 a month. I mean, that's the same thing that people are paying to be in my listing mastery course. Like that's super cheap. $3.99. That's $1,600 for 16 weeks, spending it with the same person that was my mentor, that is now in the field with our leaders, building our team and building our brokerages. So if you want to know how we're doing it, by the way, if you want to know what we're going to cover, there's all the stuff on your screen. If you're interested in joining us, by the way, you can just text the word CEO to 55444. They'll throw that in the chat. The message, the number is 55444. That'll get you the info. All right. Just text CEO to that number. That'll get you the info. Kathy, it's your program. So I'm sorry. You probably have a few things you want to say about it. So go ahead.
Well, I actually, I look at it as posing questions to everyone. Would you like to be the best recruiter, right? Or have people on your team be the best recruiter? Would you like to be the team or the brokerage where people are talking about you? There's a buzz, and that's what's happening on around here. And I've had it happen to me personally. And would you like to have your value proposition and the best one in the area? So there is so much that we cover in there, guys, that I can't even tell you, but you are going to walk away with strong leadership skills. I'm sure many of you are great leaders right now, but you're going to walk away with stronger skills, how to become a leader that people want to be with, that will be there and with you for the long term. Also, what are we doing with recruiting and the systems we have in place? It's not just picking up the phone. There's like 25 sources to recruit to. Also, value proposition.
All of our recruiting methods, all of our recruiting sources, all of our recruiting scripts, the ads we're using, the videos we're using, the value proposition, you get all of that as part of this program. Kathy, one thing I think you'll find fascinating, people ask me, Jeff, who taught you how to lead and train and build a team the way you've done? Because it seems like you've got a little bit of an unfair advantage. I said, well, I was fortunate because I got hired by Kathy Schweitzer. And you guys have the opportunity the other way around. You have the opportunity to hire Kathy Schweitzer because you're going to get 16 weeks with her. Very intense. All of the stuff, like remove the failing forward and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about that. We did all the failing forward. And we know it's working today. We know it's working today versus what worked 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this content is what we're using right now. When I mentioned that Taylor brought on 14, that's right, 14 producing agents in 90 days. Meaning a producing agent in our world, you heard the numbers, we're going after 6 to 18. So they got to do 6 deals or more to be considered producing. 14 producing agents in the last 90 days. We teach you how to do that in this program. All right. Kathy, I think this is on Tuesdays. We start the second week in July. A couple questions there. Again, if you guys want more information, just text the letters CEO, because it's called Salesperson to CEO. Text CEO to 55444. Now, we cap the limit of people in this class to like 35 or 40 people. And we do that because we want there to be some good interaction. So a lot of people, Kathy, will say, well, it's not till July. I'll just sign up later in June. Don't do that, because I can promise you at our retreat coming up in Traverse City, this will sell out. So get in there before it sells out. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait until the next one. And we only run this like 2 or 3 times a year. And the next one's probably going to be like late fall or into the winter. So don't wait to sign up, because we cap the maximum amount of people that can get in there, because we want to encourage engagement, because it's not just a presentation, it's live. So at the end, Kathy opens up the floor for questions, and you get to ask, okay, here's what we're having challenges with. What would you do? Or we implemented what we talked about last week, and here's the challenge that we're having. You get to have that engagement with Kathy one-on-one. All right. So there we go. That is the Salesperson to CEO program, team building. The last thing I want to share with you guys is something that's coming up next month. And I'm sharing this with you, number one, because you should be there. But number two, you need to get your agents there. Let us do the heavy lifting for you. One thing you'll recognize when you get to spend time around our organization is we're going to take the heavy lifting of training and coaching your agents off of your plate. Now, we're going to teach you how to make it part of your value proposition. We're going to teach you how to make it part of the unique reason why someone would join you because of your affiliation with us. But if you want to see an increase in your bottom line quickly, then I would encourage you, like so many do, get your agents to our event next summer or next month in Traverse City. If you have no idea what it is, I asked our video team to put together a 90-second video sharing with you exactly what we're going to be doing up in Traverse City. When we come back, I got a couple last minute announcements. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing next month in Traverse City.
The interest rates are pricing most people out of the market.
We've seen rapid rate hikes, not just rate hikes on mortgage rates, they've been rapid rate hikes. Sales dropped 7.7% to the slowest pace since 2010, and that was during the foreclosure crisis. To close out the year, we're going to see the mortgage rate surging again. I don't know what kind of shadow that's going to cast. We're going to start to head into the spring selling season here pretty soon with a pretty grim picture.
It's time to flip the switch.
Enough great things about this event, all of the Glover U events, and of course, the coaching program. Unbelievable.
It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what your production is, or even how many homes you've sold in the past.
I've been to many conferences throughout my 12-year career, and this is one of the best I've ever attended.
Not only are they coaching it, but these guys are doing it.
This is the place to be to continue your education in real estate and further your business towards success.
While our competition is sitting at home, reliving the same day they lived yesterday, we're doing something we've never done because we want something we've never had. It's a challenge and an opportunity. It's the pressure that forces us to grow. We don't fail, we learn. We're on the path to becoming the unstoppable force to which there is no immovable object. We're chasing our unreal life, and we're not stopping until we get it. Starting right now, we flip the switch.
Hi, it's Ed Milet, and I am so excited. Actually, I'm honored to be a part of the Live Unreal event coming this June, and I hope that you will join me there. I can't wait to meet everybody, and I'm bringing a message I'm really excited to share with all of you. It's going to be a spectacular experience, and I can't wait to share it with all of you that join. So we'll see you there soon. Max out.
I don't know about you, Kathy, but I can't watch that video without getting like fired up. We saw George in there. Yes, let's go, right?
Yeah.
All right. So last thing I want to say on that, couple quick announcements. In the back of your workbook, you've got the full agenda. And I'm giving each and every one of you, for sticking around with us, I'm giving you $100 off to that ticket. By the way, that ticket is $4.99 to the public right now. People say all the time, Jeff, how are you able to do that? Well, listen, our mission is to impact millions to live their most unreal life. So I know that for several years, we may lose money on events, but I also know life's full circle. And I know that the more people that we can impact and make a difference in their life, the more full circle things will return to us later. So here's the deal. I'm giving you all $100 off. It's in the back of your workbook. You just use the code Jeff100, Jeff100, and you can go to gloveru.com/retreat to get signed up for that. That's June 19th through the 22nd That's in the gorgeous resort town of Traverse City, Michigan. It's beautiful time in the summer. It's gorgeous, 78 and sunny and no humidity. We'll have close to 1,000 agents, brokers, leaders from all over North America joining us. All franchises, all companies, independents, everyone's represented there. And it's a great place to bring your team. Let us kick their butts for you. So we'll either see you in Traverse City next month with your team, or we'll see you in Salesperson to CEO with Kathy. One of the two or both. You can't go wrong. Kathy, anything else?
Nope. Thanks everybody for being here. I can't tell how much we appreciate it. Look forward to getting to know you more.
Awesome. Let's get to work, and we'll see you guys in Traverse City next month. Thanks so much. See you guys.